Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. As said, I'm representing Carboreal, which is a startup that is revolutionizing the voluntary carbon market. We are less than 2 years old, and in the last 12 months, we have already generated more than $10 million or euros of revenues, and we are already profitable. I'm very pleased to be in here, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, in America where everything is big, in Dallas where it's warm, because I'm coming from up north, from the level of Anchorage, Alaska, where it's cold, where we are mostly known for Santa Claus and reindeers, and of course great forestry management, and being the happiest nation in the world. I'm very happy to be here because of my personal history as well. I'm a former investment banker, and 11 years ago I had a heart attack where my heart completely stopped. And after that I decided, and if I'm blessed enough to have additional years left in my life, I wanted to dedicate it for the greater good, for creating a better planet for us, our children, and their children. Because we only have one planet. We don't have a planet B. And what can we do concretely about that? And one of the great challenges that we are facing is the climate change. And as we always have limited resources to solve these problems, we need to find the solutions that are most cost efficient and most acceptable, that create the least harm to the communities and to the planet or to the economy. And I don't believe that we can solve this problem via taxation or regulation. I think that we can solve this through capitalism and through the markets. And I'm going to go through why I see it and what we can do on it concretely. I mean, we all know in here by our heart that the change is happening. We are already de facto beyond the 1.5 degree level. We know that we are still continuously emitting much more than the planet can afford. And we know that we should be completely product neutral and technology neutral and market neutral in our solutions. Because the atmosphere doesn't know where the ton of carbon dioxide comes from or how we are removing it from there. It's a unit of measure that we can actually measure and calculate. So it's simple to see which solutions are efficient, effective, and which are not. The issue is that this market has huge potential, and it's still untapped. It's on a Bitcoin level and beyond. It's not about only the value generation that can be achieved by creating a new asset class, but it's also the good that it creates when people are investing into this market for the greater good of their own greed, but also for the greater good of the planet. The potential is in there. Can we make it reality? How we can get forward with that? The problem is complex, as all problems are. Otherwise, they would have always already been solved. But the solutions need to be really simple. And here the issue is that we need to take the areas where we can create most bang for the buck, being completely anti-fragile, and having the least possible risk. We don't need solutions that are based on science fiction or in the future. We need solutions that are based on science facts and that are available for us today and here. We need simplicity at the area of complexity. We need the clear road ahead, and that road is biogenic carbon removal from where the nature benefits from the climate change. And that is the boreal area of the world. My academic colleagues from Denmark just unveiled the oldest DNA in the world, in the most northern point of Greenland. That DNA was more than 1 million years old. And at that time, there were actually a lot of life, also in northern Greenland. And we are moving toward that direction. So I can also understand why your president has an interest in Greenland nowadays. But the issue is that where does the natural growth mostly benefit from the next decades or any scenarios of the climate change? It's the areas where the growth previously has been limited by the factors of lacking warmth or lacking other issues that are limiting the growth. So the northern forests or the northern flora can benefit more from the increase in the atmosphere of CO2 than any other area in the world, because previously the growth in there has been subdued. And that is changing now. It's also so that there are much less risks in putting forests where forests naturally are doing very well. It might sound like a wonderful idea to afforest Sahara Desert, but it's not very likely, unfortunately, to succeed. So we can actually put much more biogenic CO2 removal if we are doing it in the right way, where it counts most. And where we can do that without affecting negatively the local communities or making food insecurity in the world is the areas where we still do have in the developed world inefficient farming, in areas which are most problematic for the agricultural side. And those are peatland farming, which creates less than 10% of the agricultural production, but creates more than 50% of the CO2 emissions of the agriculture. These are the lands that we should remove from the agricultural use and make into the forest, make the water level balancing the right, add microbes to the soil so that we can make certain that the leakage is no longer there. It's significant. For example, in Finland, these small areas of agricultural land emit more to the atmosphere than the total road traffic in Finland. And it's very similar, the potential is huge also in USA and in Canada and elsewhere. And this is where we are going. So natural, real, biodiverse forest, not tree farms. This is what we are going for and aiming for, making the planet great again. Why has this market not driven before? It's because there have been small missing pieces in the products or in the solutions. And as a former investment banker, one of the problems that there has been on making these markets investable is that there has not been registries. I mean, it's easy to get funding for your car because it's easy to see who owns that car from the registers. Same for real estate, your house, to mortgage it. In here, there has been several private enterprises who have been competing on different registries, but no real government reliable registries. Carboreal has been the first and currently only one in the world who has been able to put voluntary carbon credits in a government registry. And we necessarily don't like that much what EU does, European Union, but they are good at something and they are pretty good at regulating, and over the last 2 years they have actually created new regulation, CRCF, for this particular purpose. And here Europe is actually leading the world. This is where the next big things will happen in the voluntary carbon markets. And these big things have big impact, not only for the planet and for the climate, but also for those people who are the early pioneers on investing into this. Always when you have the ability to get into the new markets early enough, if those markets turn out to be as large as many expect right now, then it's a unique opportunity of making good for the planet and making great for you personally. Because we all love the environment. That's why we are here. I mean, we are here from the heart. Most people out there, they might say that they care, but they don't really care, unfortunately. When we are making it personally and financially interesting for them, that is when the flows come in that create a significant and meaningful and impactful change. That is what we need. We need to create a new asset class that it's not only in the billions, but in the tens of billions, maybe even hundreds of billions. And that volume will then really help us save the planet from ourselves. This is the future that we are going towards. And in driving towards that future, we need your help. I mean, we cannot do it alone. All the solutions are needed, but we want to discuss and learn and get ahead on this in this event. This will be potentially one of the next big things, and we want you to jump on board with us. Thank you very much.